Hello, checking in at 51% of A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie, which actually seems to be Terry Pratchett's Ankh-Morpork rapidly industrializing, but grimdark. Now, to take proper credit for this myself, I was thinking about this in part one, at the end of part one, because we're getting all this kind of industrialization stuff. We're getting a lot of like, kind of improvements, kind of, it's like getting that introduced into a fantasy world. Like, it's like, Joe Abercrombie's read some Terry Pratchett, hasn't he? And indeed, starting of section number 2, what do we get? We get a quotation from Terry Pratchett himself. And as we go along, we get people, I think it's Ritka coming into like a battle council where, she's thinking, it's like, oh, why do people keep on singing songs about, bloody, violent hero warrior types? Why don't they sing songs about great bakers or great things? It's like, it's totally the voice of Terry Pratchett. Now, it is the voice of Terry Pratchett, very much channeled through Joe Abercrombie. Sabine, touring one of her factories, finds to her horror that the reason they've been able to dramatically increase the profits in this factory that she owns a good hunk of is that they've employed child slave labor and are working them on like 14-hour shifts and horribly mistreating them. Not suddenly, in the middle of this fantasy novel, it's like, holy shit, I'm in the middle of Michael Armstrong, Factory Boy, the novel by 1840 novel by Francis Trollope, one of the first great screeds against the horrendous industrial conditions in the UK. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking horrible. And then we kind of sideways slip into what the other novel that I was reading recently, which is A Place of Greater Safety, which is the French Revolution, where they revolt, and they revolt hard. They are butchering and killing and dancing in the street in the blood and whipping old fat lawyers, stripped them naked, raping, killing, just completely going berserk. Which is, it's not Joe Abercrombie being grimdark, it's Joe Abercrombie going, I read a couple of history books, and guess what? This is completely factual as to what happened at the time. So we get that. We also get very much, I think very much like in the first Law trilogy, we get the thing of like, separate fronts opening up, diluting the Union's strength. The Union, which is deeply in debt, has fought a bunch of wars that it couldn't afford, lost or even won them, but just made them more deeply in debt. There's this mysterious bank that we know from the last trilogy. What the hell are they called? I can't remember, but it's like their tentacles are reaching everywhere. We've got that going on. We've got the Northmen coming in and attacking one of these kind of the far-flung things, which is where they're supposed to send the troops. But once this uprising happens in this industrial city, it's like, of course, you are the troops that we have available. We're going to send you there instead, fucking the people who are in the north, which is a repetition of what happened the last time with Logan Ninefingers and them hoping that the Union troops are going to get there, and them getting unavoidably detained with all the I think it was the Gurkish Empire attacking in the south. So it's a very familiar picture yet again. But yeah, I'm very struck by that. Like, oh, this is grimdark Terry Pratchett. I wonder how Terry Pratchett would feel about that. Because very much there's some stuff in here that is like, wow, this could be a character talking in a Discworld novel, except things are a lot more brutal. It, Terry Pratchett definitely kind of the nation of shopkeepers, even though there were definitely violent revolts in England during the Industrial Revolution as well, that were viciously and brutally put down. And I guess we'll see if that's the case, because usually royals, when stuff like this happens, they step hard. They step extremely hard on stuff like this to make sure it doesn't crop up elsewhere. And indeed, that seems to be one of the chief concerns of shit. It's happened here. It's going to erupt other places as well. We don't have the forces, so when you get your back up against the wall and you're worried, they will go hard at it. They will go hard at it. So interesting. All right. I will leave it there for tonight, but that is A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. More videos later.